Hello, everybody. Welcome to What Remains of Edith Finch. How is everything? Are we live? Are we golden? Are we sailing on a sea? How's it going? Yeet! We're doing Edith Finch. Let's begin.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Oh yeah, Shadow Thing is good. Heck yeah. Everyone's still here? Everyone still got the stream going on? Get ready to see it be played.
Fence, but it looked like I wasn't the first person to hop it. My brother Milton disappeared when I was 4. It was like the house just swallowed him up.
It's a good game. I'm probably gonna be quiet because the narrator is a persistent bitch. I say that no, like this is a walking simulator, so of course the narration is gonna go and go and go. I might take moments to stop, but this is a wonderful game. I like to play this every now and then. It's really weirdly meditative for me.
Inside half the rooms.
The house on an island in the middle of nowhere. I kept growing and growing.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. Well, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
The Finches.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something but never do. The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it. As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
I looked away because I didn't think that line was going to be said right this moment. My bad.
I asked Edie once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband. I was 6. It seemed like an odd joke to me, even then. I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me. The house felt like it had always been here. Even the swing set was older than my mother. Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11. The power had been turned off the night we left. For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
Hey, Absol.
But instead of a family, there were just memories of one.
Edith, Edie, Lewis, Dawn. In loving memory, Lewis Finch. December 27th, 1998, November 21st, 2010. Beloved brother to Edith Finch, son of Dawn Finch, great-grandson to Edie Finch. Memorial service, Finch Family Cemetery, 2141 Fireweed Road.
Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
Part of the fact that I have a lot of games is because I've had a PlayStation 4 for a while, so I have a lot of games that I just have bought, like through PlayStation Network and so on. A lot of different sales. PlayStation also has, for PlayStation Plus, you get 2 monthly free games that if you get them during the month, you basically have them as long as you have PlayStation Plus. I've gotten a lot of games that way, a fair amount. Stuff like the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection is something that I have because of that. There's others and other games, so on. But yeah, just from having a game, having a PlayStation for long enough and having like a fair amount of chances to buy games and so on. That's just how I have all these games.
Or how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
In a saucepan, combine the apples, water, and lemon juice. Cook over medium-low heat just until the apples are tender. Remove from heat and cool. Do not drain. In a large bowl, combine the sugars, flowers, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and salt. Add apples and toss to coat. Place bottom pastry in pie plate. Add apple mixture. Cover with top pastry. Seal and flute edges. Cut slits in the top crust. Bake at 450 degrees for 10 minutes. Reduce heat to 350. Bake 35 to 45 minutes longer or until golden browned. Yield 6 to 8 servings. Seems nice. A lot of cannery fish.
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
Like a smile with too many teeth.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive. Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library. Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house. Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
Cat bed for Molly.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank. The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
Like a bomb went off and killed everyone.
It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture. My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
The railing broke and they needed to fix it, I guess. Someone painted the saw. That's fun. Looks like a pretty well-worn saw, too. Or maybe that's just how saws look. I'm not a lumberjack.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Calvin, 1950, 1961.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Gregory, 1976, 1977. I can imagine. Infinite Jest, The Homeschooling Book of Answers, Labyrinths, The King in Yellow, The Necronomicon, The Weird, Gravity's Rainbow, The Metamorphosis, In Awe, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, Swedish Folktales, Swan's Way, Sven Hofstund Finch, 1915, 1964. Edie, 1917, 2010.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Molly, 1937, 1947.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
The old house underwater, with the sharks and the sea monsters.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him. Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Beast of nature, Monsters of the Deep. The Jungle Book. Bedbug. 9 Lives. A Tale of Tales. The Call of the Wild.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
Nap, I hope you're still watching, because this is when it gets interesting.
My Halloween candy was all gone. I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Hey, Christopher. Good. Also, hi.
kept eating
And thank you again
eating.
for the $51.
I ate a lot of things that night. Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. Mom and Dad didn't even look at me. The babies were all gone.
There we go.
I jumped and I almost got her.
Dee Dee, long last name, handshake, Molly Fitch, being escape artist, little girls. Yeah.
I could tell she was getting really tired.
Sleep artist, vaguely supernatural, little girls.
Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up.
Nowhere to run.
And suddenly, I was an owl. first, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
It's unclear. Though I believe we did eat mistletoe. Or something along those lines.
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something.
Holly berries, thank you. I knew it was something like... Yeah, holly. Molly ate some holly. Haha.
A mama rabbit.
I never noticed that, but then I never really thought about like whether or not that was a thing.
She was almost too big to carry.
I didn't know. I forgot it was called holly.
But I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Who's to say? Is this even a trip? Maybe. Potentially.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals.
That feel when you want fat, juicy seals?
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
Don't worry, Nep. We got into the right place to be a shark. It's all good. Hungry.
Tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed. Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Mood Absol. Speaking of Black Flag, that's probably gonna be a game I play. Well, I shit on Ubisoft for sucking. The drunk like a sailor early in the morning. Hose pipe on 'em, put 'em in the scuppers with a hose pipe on 'em, put 'em in the scuppers with a hose pipe on 'em early in the morning. What shall we do with a drunken sailor in the morning? Well, considering that Ubisoft very recently had a whole sexual assault scandal, and also very recently, I think yesterday, the art director behind AC3 got roasted for some real bad takes.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
I don't know the full context of why that guy was on blast, but V's was blasting him. At least partially. V's was a part of that, and it was really entertaining.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Ooh, woo, what's this?
I got closer and closer. All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know.
V's is very passionate.
Delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have. This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom.
Give Ubisoft a fucking swirly.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune.
Good one, Nep.
Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse.
his wife Ingeborg, and their newborn son, Johann. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother. The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Frog.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Milton. Bottles of alcohol. Wonder who had those. Maybe Sam. Maybe Milton. Sam spent 7 years living with his dead brother.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
Calvin, 1950, 1961. He was 11.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did.
He did.
At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that one's rough trying to watch. Sorry about that.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Okay, bye Mina, or bye Absol. My brain's all over the place. Bye Absol, have a good one. Good luck with sports ball.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
That looks gross. Center stage. Masters of Cinema. Secrets to a New You. Breaking In. Seattle Starlets. Barbara Street.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan, and
It's a very good analysis of
Rick,
this
was
game.
about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent. She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
So at this point, they were the kind of family to give green apples.
Walter, are you there? Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet. The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending. I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
And the railing is patched up.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara. Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left. It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
I'll be right back, everybody. Give me just a moment. Let's get back to it, shall we? Let's see what remains of Edith Finch.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
We never get to see.
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement
Sven.
once, carrying packages.
We just know that the slide killed him.
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week.
Me too, Arcane.
I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
1952, 2005. Almost 50 years old.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
I think the people in these stories believe them, for what that's worth.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house? It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Zerpy, lurpy, furpy, chirpy, burpy, derpy. Derpy Jr., Oliver, Bob, Shotzi, Shadow, Christopher, Lucy, Daisy, Charlie, Tucker, Coco, Zoe. Nothing for Molly, the cat.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
One for Molly, the Molly Finch, though. And Calvin, and Sven, and Edie. One for Edie. And Walter, and Barbara. Looking out to a new horizon.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from.
Gregory.
Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying
Gus.
to do better.
And Sam.
She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
Milton.
We never found Milton's body, so my mom insisted we were putting up a monument, not a tombstone.
Sanjay Kumar. Lewis.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant. I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Case things.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
Odin
That's the spirit.
Finch National Park.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though. Aw.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
That's a keeper. Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Keep yourself squared up. No. Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about—
Dad! Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me. After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Something that games don't always are really able to simulate is the sound of the wind. 'Cause when the wind picks up and you can hear it whistling, the house settles. And it's like you can feel it passing through you. Like you're already bone. Like the skeleton of a house. Gregory, 1976, 1977. At most, he was 1 year old. Sam Finch. A lawsuit has been filed against you. You have 20 calendar days after this summons is served on 3527 Clerks Court Street, Friday Harbor, Washington, 98250. A phone call will not protect you. Your written response, including the case number given above and the name of the parties, must be filed if you want this court to hear your side of the case. If you do not file your response on time, you may lose the case, and your wages, money, and property may be taken thereafter after further warning from the court. There are other legal requirements. You may want to call an attorney right away. If you do not know an attorney, you may call an attorney referral service or a legal aid office listed in the phone book. If you choose to file a written response yourself at the same time you file your written response to the court, must also mail or take a copy of a written response to the party serving this summons at 22 Main Street, East Sound, Washington. Copies of the court documents in this case, including orders, are available at the clerk of the circuit court's office. You may review these documents upon request. You must keep the clerk of the circuit court's office notified at your current address. Future papers in this lawsuit will be mailed to the address on record at the clerk's office.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Yeah, it's this one.
Watching's over, Gregory. It's time to...
Do you want me to DM you when it's over? You can look. You can tune. You can tune it off.
Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw.
All right.
What his world was like. He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw.
Mm-hmm.
It sure made him happy.
Even this much water.
That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything.
Race flag 7:30 a.m. Breakfast 8 a.m. Quiet time 11 p.m. Duties: Dawn, sweep and trash. Gus, mop, mow yard. Greg, be a baby. Routine: jump rope 100 times, jumping jacks 150 times, push up 100 times, crunches 100 times, run to the mailbox and back. Be babu. House rules: no playing outside without permission. 2. No answering door for strangers. 3. No messes after dark. 4. All chores before dark. 5. Respect others. Emergency evacuation plan.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time,
I think the hint is that he was military quickly because he wanted to get away from the memory of his brother, but like once he had kids, he wanted to keep them as safe as possible, and the way he thought he could do that was with immense structure. But obviously that didn't work because his son wanted so much to rebel against him that, yeah. Ten ways to teach critical thinking. 1987, the 12th packed fly to India. Dawn, Sanjay.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
To be fair, the evacuation plan probably would have been also hints that he never changed the board after Gregory. Yeah. And the only one who doesn't have a mattress is Dawn, so which is a hint that she moved out, but only after both of them were gone. So the bed was probably a memorial and stayed that way for a decent chunk.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
And the doors wouldn't have been sealed back then, so the roundabout way we're getting around the house would have been at least a bit less. The evacuation route would have been like down one flight of stairs to where all of the doors that we saw at the beginning, and then down another flight of stairs, and then the front door would be there. It wouldn't be as complicated as all this. But we're going a very wild way around because, again, all the doors are sealed and locked. And stairs are broken and so on.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again.
Milton. It grew like a cancer. Or like weeds over dead things. Edith. Lewis. Dawn.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
The house had to get a little bigger. It had to.
And for a while, things were good. almost normal.
Our family history, fact or fiction? Analyze objectively. Never stop learning. Assume nothing. Respect criticism. Ask tough questions. Reading is a hoot. Probably where the gerbils were kept.
But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
When Edie gave him a castle.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Milton has a really cool room though. I need to get that game. Play it. I feel like I would like it.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Probably, yeah.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Never a death date.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Supposedly the door he went through.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
We're about to begin Lewis's, and warning again, this is where it will get very heavy.
I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
bad.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. He was so proud of being Indian. I think for him, it was a way to be something other than just a Finch.
Mm-hmm. Let the house become a monster before changing a thing about
Lewis
it.
and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was
About the
surprisingly
old
bad at them.
rooms.
He died a lot.
The Red King's Dream. I never noticed that either, actually. Lewis Finch. No memorial. Edie didn't have time.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
Frogs. Yeah.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a beautiful prince. The prince was on his own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of his electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
This is one final warning for very heavy themes of potential of hinted suicide, of unreality, and so on. If you need to step away for a moment, do so.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him.
Catman Molly.
His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
No, he couldn't.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
We're almost done.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral,
We have one
my
more
mom told me
story
start
to see.
packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
A house built on
I wish
top
we'd
of a
stayed.
house. From the remains of another house.
But I understand why we left.
Dragging the corpse of history behind us. Never letting it sleep. To teach and to learn. 7 ways to create a fulfilling classroom. Dawn Finch.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
This is it. The last night.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Grandma Edie once said that every Finch is buried beneath the library.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
Tonight.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
The mysteries of death and the afterlife. Odin. The field people. The houses. The night you were born. Milton Lewis. Hello. I hope you slept good. We're almost done with Edith Finch. History of the Finches by Edie Finch.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
And the house still stands. A story by Giant Sparrow for Shirley Dallas. Yeah, there's an analysis video for people who are curious about this and haven't seen it. It's called The Villain of Edith Finch. Go ahead and drop it, Arcane. If anyone's interested in some analysis of this game once the stream's over, go ahead and give that a look. You got kicked off of your soccer team? Oh no, Absol, I'm so sorry. That sucks, Absol. I'm sorry. I hope you can get a reason at some point, maybe from an email or something. Like, it'd be nice to have an explanation of that. The end. Thank you all for watching What Remains of Edith Finch. And Contrast. We've beaten 2 games today. Only took us like 5 hours-ish. Yeah, this is the end of the streams. Sorry you just got back, Absol. And you kind of missed it. They'll be up on Twitch, and I'm gonna be putting them in YouTube VODs. But yeah, this is the end of it. It's also around the time I end anyway. Thank you everyone for watching the streams. I hope everyone had a lovely time. Thank you again to Nep for the very generous donation. We managed to reach our goal today. I hope everyone has a great afternoon, a blissful morning, and a sweet night. Thank you, Sam. This was a great birthday stream, and I've been streaming for a couple months now, and it's been really fun and challenging in some ways, but I'm really glad that I started this and that I'm getting into the rhythm of it, and I've been able to consistently stream for this month. I've been able to very consistently have a spooky month going. And I want to thank everyone who's stuck with it and who have been amazingly amazing and a part of this, of what I'm building as part of my streams. So thank you all dearly. Thank you to Sam and V's of Party Up for being tremendous helps and great support. Thank you to Nep for being so generous every stream. Thank you, Absol. You bring a lot of energy to these streams. That's really great. And thanks, Arcane, for being an amazing boyfriend and being supportive and helping me all the time. Spooky season's not done. We have one more week to go. We'll be finishing up I had to permit that message, but it's permitted. Thank you, Absol. We'll be finishing up Senua's Sacrifice. We'll be continuing Hollow Knight and Night in the Woods. Those will continue into fall as a couple fall games. And yeah. I love you all. And I'm so thankful to know you in the ways that I do. You guys make my life special. I'll see you next time. Have a good one, y'all.